If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune in to the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. Wifey, Marissa, is out. She's getting ready for the midterms. You know how the school goes, saving the lives of young kids in the school system. So we got a really special guest today. But before that, I got to shout out Matt in the back on the ones and twos, cutting up a perfect episode for Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Google, Amazon, every podcast distributor you guys can think of. My friends over at Four Hands, and then, of course, the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis. They're the largest public funder of arts and arts programs in the city, and they're the reason why we can highlight St. Louis in the way that we do. So we have a car giant in the studio today. CEO of Butler. We got Brad Sowers in here. Thank you for making the time to come and see us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Brad, our show is a little bit different than most. We like to get in the mind of the people that we talk to. So if you could just go back in the day, young Brad, tell us about your upbringing, where you're from, tell us a little bit about your parents, childhood, all that stuff. So
Sure. So I grew up in the Midwest, actually an Indianapolis boy. Okay. So drugged back to St. Louis by a wife, who born and raised here, obviously. So I'm a son-in-law of Jim Butler. Okay. So back in the days, been married for over 35 years in the high-tech world. We've been traveling. I traveled around the world for years and years. Lived in Chicago, Dallas, in the high-tech world. Actually, I should go backwards and say I graduated at Butler University in what they called an emphasis in computer science. Okay. Kind of came back to the days of my freshman year. They said I wanted to be a radio DJ, really? Bad Brad at Night Studios. But the DJ came in and said, hey, I make $12,000 a year. And the computer programmer that programmed COBOL came in and said I made $35,000 a year. And I looked and said, I think I'll do that one. Yeah. So I went into computer programming at Butler University before really computers were hot. And that was in the early 80s. So came out, got into the high-tech sales world and marketing world, spent most of my life in Europe and Asia, opening up new marketplaces for companies based in Chicago, Milan, and Dallas. So, And then had a set of twins after 13 years of marriage. My wife and I were both down in Dallas, not close to family. My family lives in Indianapolis. Her family obviously was here in St. Louis. And Jim, who was my father-in-law, came to me and said, listen, I have all these Saturn dealerships and I have this one Chevrolet dealership. I'm thinking about selling it. If you ever wanted to get in the business, I'll sell it to you. So we worked a deal on a napkin and on the kitchen table in Dallas, Texas. And a year later, I was moving to St. Louis with the twins, getting closer to family and deciding to run a car business.
Yeah. So, wow, I didn't know all that about you, that you were in the high tech world like that and overseas. So let's just compare it in a sense of how are you using those skills that you learned there because at this time, what year was it when you bought the Chevy dealership?
So it was 19 years ago.
19 years ago. So 03?
03.
Yeah. So 2003, obviously tech was super involved in the dealer world or not, probably not yet.
Not really. Not yet, which is interesting. So, it's kind of an interesting world because it was just becoming, the internet was just becoming something for a retail center to use. Okay. Very expensive to do, trying to get leads, trying to focus in on exactly what a customer wants. So when I walked in the door, and the funny thing is I ran businesses all over the world. So I thought, running a dealership, a little Chevy dealership, I'll be playing golf every day. I'll have fun. It'll be great. Shouldn't be too hard. Probably the hardest job I've ever had, right? It was an interesting concept. Didn't understand how it all worked together from a service department, parts department, sales, finance department that's there. So probably took me 5 years to figure it out. A few times I threw the keys back at my father-in-law and said, I can't do this. I want to go run a high-tech company somewhere. Right. But It ended up, it was about a $50 million business when I bought it. And now this year we're going to exceed $500 million. So a $500 million company.
Wow.
19 years later. So we took that small Chevrolet dealership and grew it throughout Missouri.
Yeah, that's inspiring. So at that point, your father-in-law, he just had the Saturn dealers. And
he did. And it's an interesting concept. So he loved Saturn.
Yeah.
Saturn was a no haggle, great value vehicle, did extremely well. But as you know, in the 08, 09, GM actually closed down Saturn.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So Chevrolet and I at the time owned a Kia store. We basically took over what the Saturn locations were and did used car environments there, and then bought other franchises to fill the gaps. But the concept, interesting, is coming back. People want no haggle. People want a good value.
Yeah.
And with the internet today, there's so much data for a consumer that in reality there is no more haggle.
Mm-hmm.
You should know everything you want to know. If you really want to haggle, you can, I guess, but in the reality, everything is there on the internet, from your financing rates to what's an extended service contract and what does it really mean to what is this particular car? Because my job, I can't convince you to buy a Chevy or a Maserati or a Jeep. That's their job, right? Those big companies tell you which car to come, but when you come to me to buy it, I've got to give you an experience that's very transparent. Because frankly, if I don't, you're going to go home and look on the web and go, hey, this team really screwed me up, and then I won't get your business. My job is to get your business, your family's business, your friend's business, and that's how I progress and grow throughout the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think that's true, because even when I buy a camera or I buy a computer, before I go to Best Buy, I already know exactly what I want. Right. I know what I want. I know what it costs, and so people are smart, and that's why the used car salesman gets that name because of probably back in the day, know, but that's not the way it is anymore.
It's not that way anymore, but it's still it's out there, right? People really think, this is what's happening. And part of that issue is the movement. Tesla brought the movement in direct to consumers, right? Mm-hmm. I understand it, right? Because there's been a bad history of a lot of different bad players throughout the marketplace. But in the end, 99% of the car dealers give back to the community tremendously. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk probably a little bit about Operation Food Search today, but we get the opportunity to service the customer and become that advocate for the customer, because these are huge companies. Mm-hmm. Taking on a fight with GM directly is really hard. Taking on a fight with the dealer standing behind you to say, hey, this product didn't come out right. Something's wrong. We need to fix it. It needs to be warranted, or we need to replace it from that standpoint. Mm-hmm. That's what we do as a dealer body.
Yeah, there's something special about, and that's why I love local and family-owned businesses, is because there's something special about going to a local brewery and working directly with the people, or going to a local dealer. And I want to get sold on stuff. Like when I go to buy a TV, I want them to tell me why I should buy the TV. There. I'm a salesperson, but I like to be sold, because I just want to make sure people are spending a lot of money with you. Right. A lot of them are spending, or having a large payment. So that's awesome. So 2003, you got into the car business. Yes. So I know we kind of talked about it briefly, but what was that change like? Because you said it was the hardest job you've ever had.
The hardest thing I've ever experienced.
Which coming from you, you're like, this will be cool. I got you, Dad. I got you, Pops.
Yeah, no problem. Should be really easy. But, it's a lot of, it was a tumultuous time in the marketplace because the internet was coming. Mm-hmm. Something I knew a lot about, which was good and bad, mm-hmm. because most of the people in the organization didn't know about it, right? Yeah. And so, leading that team into this new environment with transparency, mm-hmm. to make sure they understand everyone knows, what's happening there. And I think, that was part of the challenge, but also understanding talent base and how to take a person from a good manager to a great partner. And that's kind of been the number one challenge. But frankly, it's been the one reason why I think we as a group have been incredibly successful. We buy people. Right? Mm-hmm. We look at people and say, can this person make that effort and drive the business forward? Do they have the talent? Maybe. Can I teach them? Yes. Can I lead them? Yes. But frankly, a lot of them have that work ethic. Mm-hmm. And if they have the work ethic and some talent of the business, then you can take them to that next step and turn them into an extremely successful manager or team member or technician or service advisor. And that's really what we focused on in the past few years of our lives here.
Yeah, it's just building up people, and we're going through that in our business too. Is like and when you're smaller, it's very crucial of what people you bring in, because you can afford to make a few mistakes with your people. A lot of small businesses can't.
No, because when we started, it was 38 people, right? So you make a mistake with one of those, that's you're like, oh my gosh, I just cost myself 6 months of my life, right? Yeah. So now I do have 430 people, so it's a little bit different in the marketplace. But every time we expand and buy a new business, we buy the people.
Right.
We don't go in and buy a business and get rid of everybody and hire new people. We take them and say, here's what we do, how we do it. Let's implement our procedures and processes and our marketing and our sales strategy. And then we'll take it forward from there. And it works extremely well for us.
Yeah. And you guys have the confidence because you've done it, and like you can just implement it and scale. So, 2003, you bought the business. Tell me about how you've expanded and scaled. So you buy other dealerships or you start new dealerships?
We do. We've bought just about every other dealership. Excuse me. I got a cough. So we kind of looked at Kia was an expansion for us, was our first expansion for us, because we were looking at how do we do something other than a domestic brand, which was Chevrolet. So our Chevrolet store in Fenton has been the #1 Chevrolet store in the St. Louis area for the last 10 years. Not too many people know it. We don't pitch it all that great, but because our business is so big, we've been in the top 50 in the nation and won Dealer of the Year for 7 years in a row. So we've been growing quite a bit, and we do very well at that particular location. But we wanted to expand to other brands, and Kia is an upcoming brand. And really today it probably has the hottest products in the marketplace. And we're not #1 in town on the Kia store, but we will be. Yeah. So we have about 2 more years, and I think our growth pattern will show us to be #1 for Kia sales. Then we had an opportunity to grow outside of St. Louis, which is in mid-Missouri. So we bought a Chevrolet store in Lynn, Missouri, which is just outside of Jeff City. And people thought we were crazy, right? But with the internet, frankly, we have people. In fact, one of the stories during the pandemic is we had a guy from Maui fly in to Jeff City and picked up his Jeep that he bought because it was cheaper for him, because we don't sell things above MSRP. So it was cheaper for him to come into Lynn, Missouri. We had the Jeep that he wanted. So he flew Maui to LA, LA to St. Louis, drove to Jeff City, picked up his Jeep, right, and had it shipped back to Maui.
That's what I was going to ask. How do you get it back?
He shipped it back,
and it was
from
still
LA,
cheaper than if you would have bought it.
Yeah. Shipped it from, and it was still less expensive than buying it at Maui.
Wow,
think about that. So, that's the reach of the internet. So we do sell in 35 states, but that example in Lynn is just amazing to me. So I'm like, I need to talk to this person. I want to understand this. And sure enough, he's like, you had the exact one I was looking for. Right. The right color, the right features. And I called, and your guys were great on the phone. They told me everything I needed to do. I said, I'm buying it. I gave them a deposit online, and I showed up and I bought it and drove it and shipped it out. Wow. And it's like fantastic. So that happens a lot.
The internet. The
internet's unbelievable. So we do, like I said, we ship out in 35 states right now on average every month. So we do fairly well in that marketplace. So Lynn was first from an expansion in Mid-Mo. Then we bought a CDJR store, which is Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, put those together in Lynn. So now we have a bigger base that's there. And that has done extremely well too. We're one of the top Jeep dealers and Ram dealers in the marketplace that's there. And then recently we bought a Chevrolet store in Centralia, Missouri. So if you look at Mid-Mo, you have Jeff City and Columbia. Centralia is kind of north of Columbia, and Lynn obviously is a little southeast of Jeff City. So we kind of have it surrounded. Right. So now we have a Chevrolet store in Centralia, a Ford store in Centralia, and a CDJR. So we're building a brand new building there, and we believe that will be our biggest dealership, even bigger than our Fenton dealership, is because we'll have the 3 brands, the 3 truck brands that are there that are popular here in Missouri. And frankly, all 3 manufacturers have pretty good strategies for the future. So that's a big growth for us. And then, of course, I also bought a Maserati store. I
knew that.
So I was in the chance. We actually opened that from scratch.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to ask, because you bought into a lot of places, but then you've also been
this one I opened from scratch. Yeah, it's a little different. That was actually owned by, at the time, FCA, which is Stellantis today. It owns CDJR, so the Dodge Jeep Ram. But I was in the process of trying to buy a local Dodge dealership. It fell through. The executives were in town. I grew up in Indianapolis, so one of my favorite cars was Wilbur Shaw's Maserati, who won the Indianapolis 500, 3940. And so I have a picture of that, but I also have a picture of my son in that car, the same car on my wall. And so he goes, "Oh, do you like Maserati?" I said, "I do." I said, I've always been fascinated by Maseratis. Yeah. He says, "Would you like a dealership?" Yes, why not? So Maserati, Alfa Romeo, and I really got an opportunity to start it from scratch. So it's done pretty well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, you've just built this, like I said, like you're a powerhouse, but you don't plan on stopping either. You have goals and you have a lot. You said you have 430 employees. I mean, that's a lot of people to take care of. So you can't take your foot off the gas at that point because those people are going to grow into roles and run dealerships, and you want that high growth because you get better people when there's opportunity for that growth.
Absolutely. And I think that it starts to become your reputation in the marketplace as an employer, right? So people want to come work for you, which is great. And I think that as long as they have the ethics that we're looking for and can adapt to our process or procedures, I would say, then we take them on and take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's inspiring. And also people want to work with you guys because you give back to the community, and we recently are just coming off an amazing fashion show event at Neiman Marcus, which was a great time. But more importantly, though, it was the $100,000 campaign that you guys have been raising with your car sales and between community partners. So tell us a little bit about how that came about. And then I know you've been giving back for a long time, but this was just kind of a big thing that's just happening right now too.
It is. And I think we as a company and our employees do give back quite a bit. So we reward that with our community service crew. We do an awful lot. We want to focus. My father-in-law was a board member of the Boys and Girls Club forever before I got into the business. And his strategy was, you got to take care of the kids of St. Louis. They're the ones that are going to make the difference in this marketplace, right? And so we really focus on the Boys and Girls Club or other opportunities where it's going to impact children. So one of the things that was brought to our attention this year, last few years, we've done Bikes for Tykes, done a lot, thousands of bikes. Last 2 years during the pandemic, we focused on local restaurants because they were struggling. So we did a bunch of gift cards to give out. So our whole employee base does that. And sometimes it's their money, sometimes it's my money, but we all do it together and say, let's create this giving back environment. And it feeds off because our customers are like, "Oh, you're giving $50 a car for sale. I'm going to write a check for another 100. Thank you so much for doing this." And that helps from an attitude standpoint through the process of the whole team to say, why is it important to give back? This is why it's important. Everyone wants to feel good. We're lucky. We do well. We're a successful business. You have a great job. You have a great job for the future. So let's give back to that community. Right. So today, today, we did this Operation Food Search in the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. So we wanted to get something that covered the entire state of Missouri since we have so many employees throughout the state. And this enabled us to give back to these operations, which I got a chance to see in action, are unbelievable for what they do for the community and for the children, right? So these food deserts that are there and how they make sure that these kids have food after school, because obviously Missouri didn't sign up for the federal after school program, which is a frustrating thing no matter which side of the aisle you're on. But these two companies do a tremendous job for children. They give us the number of 865,000 Missourians need help for food. Just give that math equation an answer of 250,000 kids throughout Missouri need help with the food. That's incredible. And both of them focus in on a healthy food, right? Which I think is a big difference in the marketplace. And they've done a really nice job of getting out to the right levels of the market and making sure that every penny goes back to these kids or to those families that need this food security back.
Yeah. Right. Wow, that's inspiring. I didn't know the numbers were that high, but I do like the fact that it is healthy food too, because like you said, like sometimes when you are low income or you're eating whatever you can eat and you don't have those resources and stuff like that. So you guys are on track for that 100K target. And
we are on track, and it's fantastic.
Wow.
It's surprising. I thought it was a little bit of a stretch,
Big goals,
my team kept saying we can do it. I'm like, are you sure? That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a big number. But frankly, between team members, sales, friends, relatives, people that want to donate for the cause, we are definitely on track and we'll be there.
So what type of impact does $100,000 do for those organizations? I mean, you probably kind of learned a little bit about what they needed and like.
Yeah. So it's not only the 100,000. So we'll deliver 2,500 pounds of food to them as well. So, we're collecting at all 6 physical locations of our dealerships that are out there. So that's a big impact that's there. But frankly, the $100,000, I don't want to sound, it's a drop in the bucket, right? These people need millions more to do what they do. Of course. So it's one step to take it to that next level. They're very appreciative, which is great, but in the end, it's a drop in the bucket for what this community needs. So we feel good we're adding that to the puzzle, but
you're starting that conversation and you're bringing awareness, and at worst case, you're bringing awareness and other people are getting involved.
Well, like you said, would you have ever guessed 865,000 people throughout Missouri had food insecurity?
No.
Frankly, I'm not knowledgeable enough to even come close to understanding that.
Right.
I read first thing it was 100,000, 200,000. Then I sat down, met with them, and they showed the stats, and you're just blown away by it, right? So,
and that's all through the state,
all throughout the state,
because that's not just inner cities, St. Louis. Correct. This is in mid-Missouri, Jeff City.
No, yeah, and it's not to a certain neighborhood or certain. It's there's certainly food deserts in areas. We talked about Delmar Divide as a good example. There's food deserts in certain areas, but frankly, the food insecurity, think about inflation and what's happened in the past, year.
Yeah.
A lot of people's balance sheets look really good coming out of the pandemic. But if you raise, prices of groceries by 40%, that impacts everybody.
Yeah.
And so therefore, it's just an ongoing basis for food insecurity.
Wow, that's amazing, and I'm glad that we were a part of it, and just being able to spread awareness on that. Is this something you guys are going to keep doing, or is it just other stuff?
We're planning on it, right? So we try to look at something at the end of every year to do. We do things during the year with our community service organization.
Yeah,
those are things that our employees bring up and say, look, this home needs some help, or these people need some help, and we'll go and do those things, as long as it's legit, and they want to volunteer to do it. Right. So I think last year, one of the team members wanted to give out Christmas gifts to the Boys and Girls Club. So we hit every single Boys and Girls Club location, paid for a dinner, paid for gifts for them, and the kids loved it. And it was a great opportunity to do that.
Right.
We also did a playground this year in North St. Louis, and we got a chance to help the kids design it. So it was really a lot of fun. And
you guys go out there and get your hands dirty too, and
I'm not going to say I do it all the time, but I did on this one. I got to help them design it, but the other people got to get out and dig.
Yeah,
so
no, absolutely.
I'm getting too old for that.
I get it, man. Yeah, we were talking about it before the show, man. But yeah, so. Community is important, and our goal with STL Bucket List is we're using our platform. Now, we can't use it monetarily, but we can use it for engagement and awareness, and that's what we try to do. Is number one priority is to give back to the community, and that the only way to do that is to go out there and volunteer, to go out there and spread awareness, because Operation Food Search, there's so many organizations in Missouri and St. Louis that are doing great work just like them. Right. We're inspired by education and kids too, because sometimes you get these organizations and you just look at the kids, the kids have no choice. They have no option. They can't fix it.
It's not their fault.
They can't fix it.
Right. They need an opportunity. They need a pathway off.
Yeah.
Right. They need to find a way to make it to that next level. Somebody's got to help them do that.
And those are future employees. Those are future people that are going to buy cars from you. Those
Absolutely.
are future, in all down the way. So you got some other things, but I know that it all comes back to family. And I actually didn't know that Jim was your father-in-law. That's an amazing story that I just learned today as well. So is he, tell us about working with family, and I'm sure that you were in this high tech world. It's a lot different when you're kind of working with your wife's dad and brothers, sisters, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't have any other, my brother-in-law is still in the business a little bit, but I bought everybody out of the puzzle. My father-in-law passed away 2 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
So, yeah. And I think, working with family is always difficult, right? But then again, if you want to be engaged, it's really this business, right? It is a family business that's there. So I have 2 kids that are twins. They're 21. And my job is to tell them, go do something else for 5 years. And if the business is still going and you want to come back, that's great. We'll figure that part out. But in the end, I ended up buying out my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law through the process over the years because of our growth and our success that was there. So it worked out fairly well for my personal family. Yeah. But we treat, and you'd be surprised how many employees, brothers, sisters, parents, daughters, they're all working in the organization because we love that, right? Yeah. And we love that impact that family has. So it's very important to us. So it's been a good experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love family-owned businesses. I mean, it's just the heart of our city, and probably better because you've traveled a lot. But like, I feel like St. Louis is really special about supporting local, and we've noticed that over the pandemic is like people are now more than ever. We're like, how can I give my money to somebody that's local?
Right. And St. Louis. I mean, people. I wasn't born and raised here. But I absolutely love St. Louis. I tell people about St. Louis all the time because it is really a hidden gem in the Midwest. Yeah. Could we do some things different? Do we need to fix? Sure. Absolutely. But I grew up in Indianapolis, lived in Chicago, lived in Texas. Trust me, St. Louis is unbelievable. Great community, great people, great school systems that are there, great leadership throughout the organization. No matter what you think or whichever side of the aisle you're on, it's really a good city. And has some great things going for it, I think. And I am hopeful that in the next 10 years of our lives, we're going to see a big change.
Yeah, we're seeing it right now, and I think you're right. So it is a lot of entrepreneurs listen to the show. So, you have a pretty inspiring entrepreneurial journey, but a lot of people just want like some type of motivation. So do you have like a philosophy that you live by in business or your business follows? Like, I know that's probably the same, it aligns, but it might be a little bit different as well, like a leadership philosophy or entrepreneurship philosophy.
I think I'd love to be this intellectual person with you, but in the end, it's about investing in people. So I look at my managers and the staff that I have, and if I've progressed and helped them progress, most of the time I'm just the guiding principal. Right. If they've expanded and learned and drove and got to this next level, then I consider myself a success. Okay. We look at this at the end of every year. I have, 3 managers. I have a CFO and COO who's a partner of mine as well. Don and Tracy and I sit down and we talk about, our staff and our managers and where we've gone and who's up for that next level. We do promote from within. It's very rare we bring somebody from the outside for a manager. I would much rather take a successful tech to turn him into a manager, or a successful salesperson to turn him into a finance manager, or a successful finance manager and turn him into a sales manager. I'd much rather do that because then people in the organization say, I have a path. Absolutely. And I can be here, right? So we just celebrated our warranty clerk has been with the business for 50 years. 50 years, right? So, and Diana, she's the most wonderful person in the world, still works every day. She comes in at 6:30 in the morning, leaves at 3:30 and does her job, and unbelievable. Yeah. Right? So that to me gives you, a little bit of pride to say, somebody likes us, right? Or we're doing the right things to keep those employees happy. Yeah. Because frankly, people buy from people. And if they're not happy and they don't understand, our philosophy and how we go about, we love a philosophy of very transparent with the customer. We assume that customer is the most educated customer in the world. Whether they have the worst credit in the world or the best credit in the world, we're assuming they know what they're here for. Our job is to make it quick, painless, and fit it into where it can fit. And if our people are happy, then our customers know that. Yeah. Right? I mean, if they're not happy or they're just following a process they hate or they don't like what they're doing, customers walk out the door. Yeah, I mean, nobody has time for that.
People buy from who they know, like, and trust, and that's what you guys have built. You guys have built an amazing brand, but also just something that people know, they like, and they trust you, and that's important. And I love the hiring within because, you might have a kid that's 18 that maybe didn't go to college, but worked his way up through tech sales. And it might be like you have those opportunities for people. Absolutely.
And making more money than you could ever imagine. Yeah. Right. So if the effort is there, right. And that's part of the process. And we actually educate our team as well on as you become more successful, you need to start to understand what to do, right? Because you don't, if you haven't been educated in finance, you don't understand 401ks, or you don't understand 529s for your children, or you don't understand, the direction you need to invest in. A lot of people want to invest in risky stocks, right? I'm the first guy that stands up and says, I don't own any Bitcoin. And I know, I had 4 million people try to sell me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, unfortunately.
But
but we're young, man. Young people are stupid.
Well, no,
they're not stupid, but we try things. Yeah.
You can make it back, right? Yeah. So, I think, my son bought NVIDIA, right? Yeah. And I'm like going, that's the craziest thing ever. He's like, quadrupled his money on NVIDIA, right? So
and it's fun, and people like young people, like we get entertained by that and stuff like that. But you, like you were saying, like having that path of
got to have a path of making sure you're a steward of your success too, right? Yeah. Because some people can become very successful and just blow it all because it's too much for them, right? Yeah, you got to give the guidelines and give the support for those people too.
Yeah, and that's we talk about mentorship a lot. I mean, do you have any specific people that have like kind of helped you or guided you through the like a specific mentor?
We got a lot. Yeah. A couple of CEOs that I work with in the high tech world. One guy's named Steve Clark, and I wish I'd stayed in more contact with him, but he was probably the guy that said, I believe in you, right? You can do this, right? Or, I'm going to be standing here and watching you be successful. If you fall, it's okay. I'll be here, right? And when you get that type of mentorship, that's fantastic. Yeah. Right. I mean, you just can't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, and Google can only do so much, and and we have a couple people that we talk to, but just like simple questions of like, hey, where should I go get a business loan, or who should I bank with locally, and say like, there's different like just little questions that you can't type into Google and ask those questions. It's something simple, but mentorship is definitely important. But you mentioned St. Louis, so you're not from here. How old were you when you moved here?
Boy. I'm going to say it was 19 years ago, so 41.
Okay. So you were 41 when you moved here.
I used to travel here to date my wife, in the summer. She went to Butler University as well. And so in the summers, I'd come to St. Louis. So
now everybody's doing the math in their head and end up how old you are right now.
Yeah, I'm 60. So I turned 60 this year. So I feel a lot older than I probably am. But
60 is young, though. In
today's age, right?
In today, it's weird. Like I see somebody that's 55, 60. I'm like, damn, they're just getting started in the business world. Sometimes, but I'm sure you have.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
So you're 27, right? So did you think you'd be doing this at 27? Right?
No, I was selling car. I was actually selling car warranties like 3 years ago.
Gotcha.
Hating like it was like one of the those shops.
I know the shop. Yeah. It's a boiler room, right? So it's like crank.
I was like the Wolf of Wall Street, and then I never thought, but yeah, I didn't even know I was going to be an entrepreneur. You know, so like life takes you in different routes. But yeah, 27. And then at the same time, you're like, I have so much to do, but you need to slow down and realize like you have time for these things. Like we always are trying to start new businesses before other businesses get, Yeah.
And my thing I give to my young managers is be present. And I that's the term that I made the mistake, all my life. I think I worked so hard trying to get to where I was very successful in the high tech world, made a ton of money, did really good. But man, did I put in 70, 80 hours. And for my marriage, and then when I had kids, was I present? Not really. I was on the phone, on the computer. I was doing stuff the whole time. Yeah. And really when I started in the car business, it was the same way. But I came to a realization that said, it's just not worth it, right? And when I jumped into the car business, my job was to say, I will be there to make breakfast for my kids every morning and be present. Yeah. So I did that while they were little, right? They probably don't remember, but in the end, I know in my heart I was there. I woke them up. I made them toast or eggs or whatever they wanted for breakfast. And I was there. And then I went to work and worked my tail off, start to finish. But be present is probably one of the hardest things today because of our technology. Everybody's got their cell phones going. Yeah. You can work anywhere, and the pandemic proved that, right? You could work anywhere you want to, right? And that's part of the problem is that you can work anywhere you want to. So it never stops 24/7. Yeah. And so my only advice to the young managers I have is I appreciate your hard work. It'll wait, be present for your kids, be present for your marriage, because without that, that retail business is really hard on families and kids because you're working late hours. And it's a tough job, a lot of ups and a lot of downs. You've been in sales, so you know.
Yeah.
And so you have to be present when you can. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I love that because that's why I love the podcast is like we turn everything on silent and then we have a conversation with people, and the people that we've been able to meet. I almost think podcasting is the new golfing, because golfing used to be a time where you would go and talk to like business partners.
Right.
Now you're just like, oh, I got a podcast. Come on the podcast. Let's talk. So it is really hard to be present, especially like we do social media. That's our job.
That's your job.
So like every day, all day, we're thinking of ways to get better at social media. But like it's so nice to just turn off your phones and turn off everything, and just, especially like as we're a young married couple, it's like you can see the toll it takes on, that can wait. You don't have to email them back till tomorrow,
Absolutely.
And you get that anxiety. You're like, I got to email them back.
Anxiety is there. Right. Everybody knows that, my wife was a partner at Hush Blackwell here in town, and she's now retired, or she's on her very last case there. But she, same deal for us. I mean, that's what we talk about all the time. We really, in the last 15 years of our life, have really said, let's segment our time to make sure we're present for our kids and for ourselves. Yeah. And it's worked really well. I think it's a great strategy. And frankly, we've gotten bigger. Yeah. So it hasn't hurt my business, right? So I'd say I have a great team behind me, so it's really helped. But I think it makes a big difference in your life.
That's awesome. That's just special. That's good advice for the people that are listening. And then, so I was talking about St. Louis. That is the STL Bucket List Show.
Yes.
So I want to hear, everybody wants to hear, they're like, man, where do you go to eat? Where's some spots in town that, like, if you would say a bucket list spot, like you got to go there, parks, events, like what's your idea of like bucket list spots in St. Louis that you would bring people in town?
So, the one thing that I absolutely love is the Muni.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I'm not my wife is very big in the Muni.
Theater person. Yeah.
Theater person. But I got to tell you, the experience of St. Louis in the summer and at Forest Park is really the go-to place.
Sometimes.
It's really hot.
It gets real hot there.
Those fans only can do so much. Or it rains, or does it?
But no,
that's
magical.
The exciting.
It's magical.
It's unbelievable. And this year they're going to do Rent, right? So for St. Louis, for 100,000 people now are going to be able to see Rent on a huge stage. That's going to be an amazing experience, right? So I think my wife and I have written Rent as one of the suggestions for the last 15 years of our lives for the Muni, because I think the stage is built for it. Yeah. And I think St. Louis is ready for it, right? So I think it's going to be a fantastic summer season that's there. So that is number one. We tell people City Museum is number two. And I used to take off Fridays to be with the kids. And I still have scars on my knees from crawling on those things.
Through the caves and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And because, it was funny, we were in Disney World checking in. They said, oh, where are you from? And I said, St. Louis. Oh, City Museum. The guy checking me in, he said, oh, I'm like, how do you know it's, because everybody knows about the City Museum. Yeah. It's a spectacular.
World famous. The coolest place in the world. Like one of the coolest places in the world.
One of the coolest places in the world for me. So those two are the top on the bucket list. I'm a little more of a traditional when it comes to the food. I've got a lot of partners in this Operation Food Search. So I have not been to the Balkan Treat Box, but I got a chance to spend time with Lauren. So
you got to go.
That is my daughter. I've already talked to my daughter. We're going, when she comes into town this weekend. So we're going to head that way to try the food, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It's good. So, and Heidi she does the sushi at Tabaru.
Tabaru,
yeah. So I do not like sushi, but she promises I will like hers. Yeah. So I'll have to
She's got the prettiest sushi plate in the world.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is just unbelievable.
Crazy.
So she fantastic. And so, those areas, La Patisserie, Kit there, I love French food, obviously. So it's fantastic. I used to spend a significant amount of time in Paris, so I love it.
Yeah, her brunches are really good there too.
Fantastic. So great place to be. My favorite dining restaurant is probably like with my son. It's called Truffles. I don't know if you've ever heard of Truffles or not. Yeah. It's in Ladue. It's not really an old man white cloth place, but it's a great place. Good steak, good jambalaya. So but that's probably one of my go-to places that are there.
What's a date night spot? Is that like a date night spot?
That's a date night spot.
Truffles?
But I like to cook. So we went to we had a friend that older friends that got married in Italy this past summer. A whole group went there, and we got to go to a chef school. Mama got us, so got to learn how to make red sauce and
Make pasta, homemade pasta and stuff.
Yeah, everything. So from start to finish, and so I've been really experimenting with that, and love doing that. So I cook a lot at home.
Is that your hobby, you think, cooking?
It would definitely be a hobby. It's kind of a it takes my mind off of work. It takes my mind off of every issue that's going on. It doesn't matter if the radio's playing or a game's on. I can sit there and spend all day. I'll be honest with you though, I made a red sauce this weekend that frankly wasn't good. I don't know what happened. I was watching the Red Zone. I don't know if I got distracted.
No commercials too on Red Zone.
I know.
You can't cook during that. You gotta order food on Sunday Red Zones, bro.
I know. I gotta shift my strategy because I made this and I'm like going, it looks really good, and I was going to take it over to some friends. And I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
We love that too. We love cooking, and we actually love cocktail. We took some cocktail making classes, and we loved St. Louis actually has a very good cocktail scene compared to other cities. Like that's why they're $14. Like,
that's right.
Back in the day you're like $14 for a cocktail, but like the love that goes into it, and we have a bunch of places in town like Planter's House, Yellow Belly, like that just make really good cocktails, and we just love them. So
that's your age there.
Yeah,
I'm at that age where I drink a couple glasses of wine, I'm done.
Yeah. No, then there's some great wines too, but like it's cool to find. But like a lot of people that we talk to on this podcast are like, I go to the same few places. It's just comfortable. Like you guys don't get the opportunity to, you're not in your 20s where you're going to new spots every weekend. You go to places you're comfortable with and places you have memories with, and people that run them and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, there's always a lot of restaurants we like to go to throughout St. Louis. Those are kind of the at home. Yeah. This is, the kids are home. They want to go here. This is where they go. We'll take Corner 17. Yeah. Son wanted to try that. And I'm like, I love, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
And we loved it. I mean, it was fantastic.
Corner 17 is great.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah, that's the STL bucket list, guys. Go scoop that up. We gotta go there. But Balkan Treat Box, you're probably next time I see you, you're gonna be like, dude, I'm going there every week.
I'm going every week. We got a chance. We did a morning show deal together.
And Lauren's great too. She's amazing.
Really nice person. And she had them like going, oh my God, that looks fantastic. What is that? So, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Bosnian culture in St. Louis is so powerful. Yeah, and so to leave everybody off, I mean, where are you guys going to be at? I mean, what's your 5-year goal? I mean, I know you got big goals and you probably got whiteboards and high level. You don't have to get us into high level stuff, but like, what do you guys see yourself in the next 5-10 years and beyond? I mean, you're going to still be in it, or are you going to be?
We'll still be in it. Yeah. I think I have a partner. I've worked with him to sell some of the mid-Missouris to him over the next 10 years, and that's part of my growth strategy that says I'm going to continue to have partners that I take in as a 25% partner, and then eventually they can buy me out through the process. That's there. I will always maintain at least 25% ownership. The Jim Butler name will always be there. And that's our drive, but we're looking for an expansion of probably another 5 franchises. Not sure they're going to be in St. Louis. We've been looking outside of St. Louis quite a bit. A little scared, about that, to be honest with you. But as long as we stay in the Midwestern culture, we kind of like the Midwestern culture, I think. Yeah. And good people, right? Nice, friendly, straightforward.
Neighborhood dealers.
We can, we can get that done. And so I think you'll see us expand quite a bit, not double in size, but maybe 30-40% growth.
That's awesome.
So that's our goal.
Yeah, so like moving outside of St. Louis, that obviously can get scary because you're just not used to it yet. But it's awesome that you'll still be involved with it and keeping that family name going. And
yeah, I think the other drive for us is EVs, right? So we have a website called jimbutlerev.com, and we want to be the #1 EV supplier for the Missouri marketplace. Yeah. We're on target to do that. We've invested $1.5 million in chargers throughout our organization. We want to be that leader in that marketplace.
Yeah. It's coming. Yeah.
Everybody says it's coming. We're debating that, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of changing the tax structure to not electric vehicles, but clean vehicles. I think you're going to see some hydrogen come out. You're going to see a little bit different strategies from different manufacturers, but it's coming. Clean vehicles are coming. It doesn't take as much gas, doesn't dirty the environment that's there. And I think the strategy by 2035, 35% of the marketplace will be there.
Yeah.
So,
and you guys
that's
want to be
our
ahead
goal.
of that. Yeah.
We want to be the number one. We want to be, from servicing those vehicles to selling those vehicles, we want to be that number one in Missouri, doesn't matter which brand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're just investing in the future.
Investing in the future.
And you've always been innovative and reading your bio. And, we could go all through all the bullet points, but like reading your bio, you guys have always been, and that's your high tech industry. Like, you're coming in at it. A lot of guys in the car dealer world here in St. Louis probably just grew up in it. And it's just, that's all they know. So you have a little bit of knowledge outside, a lot of knowledge outside of just cars.
I think that's been a good advantage. Yeah. So I think it has been. But I think it's key. I mean, we talked about Dry Black Tie for a little bit as well. That's an innovative
Really love that brand. I just love the overall branding of it. I love how you still have the bow tie in it and all that, but like it's just cool. Like it's cool to us. Like I look at the cars all the time and wish I could drive. I need to get a member. You want to sponsor the show? Sponsor the show, man. Give me a car. I'll post it all the time.
Right. So now
I always shoot my shot.
There you
go.
Well, now we have to try the EVs, right? So
I'll try that. I'll try it all.
One of the things that people don't know if an EV is the right car, right? So can I live with an EV? That's a real question for people, right? Yeah. So we've established in Dry Black Tie a 30-day program that says try an EV, Tesla, Kia, GM, Ford,
see how it charges at your house.
Do 30 days with it. Yeah. You can just do a 30-day subscription, and then you can make a decision and say, you know what, this fits in my life. I like it, and you can either buy it from us or buy it from somebody else. Yeah. That's your strategy. But or you try it for 30 days and go, I can't do this. Yeah. I can't deal with. Where do I charge it next, or am I going to run out of battery life? Yeah. And that's a real thing for
depending
people.
on their daily commutes and stuff like that. Yeah.
They don't know how it works.
I need to try that powder blue Porsche though. I think that
Isn't
that
that
might.
Beautiful?
Yeah, I know that you know the exact one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, we have an Aston Martin now that's in Dry Black Tie, so you'll be seeing me drive that this week.
Oh, okay. Just trying it out, just to see if you like it, and then go from there. So I got one more question. I usually ask people like if they could have coffee with anyone in the world, like who would it be? But like to kind of gear it towards you, like if you could like drive in a car, like if you could drive a car with somebody, like is there like somebody like dead or alive over history that you would love to just like sit and talk to on like a road trip or something like that?
Well, I grew up in Indy, right? Yeah. So if I got a chance to ride in a car with somebody, it'd be AJ Foyt. Okay. I don't know if you know who AJ Foyt is, write him down. But 4-time winner of the Indy 500. Yeah. Foyt Racing's out of Texas and really has driven some amazing races throughout his life. He's still alive. He's in his 80s, and he's a guy.
You might potentially be able to ride with him.
Yeah, I've got a chance to meet him a few times when I was younger. But from a racing standpoint, that would be it. I think obviously Michael Schumacher, who's in a coma and not with us today, but that would be another person that had the best driving Formula One history. So I would love to just sit down and understand.
Are you a big F1 guy?
Skill set. No, I'm a real IndyCar guy. Okay. But everybody's an F1 guy after the Netflix
dope.
series,
it's
right?
Cool. It's cool.
I think obviously F1's a little different technology dollar-wise. IndyCar is more, I would say, rough shot, open wheel racing. Yeah. And it's really a fantastic race.
You still get out there and go there to the?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I haven't in the last year, but I will definitely be there again next year. So
that'd be awesome.
Last year I did not go to the race at all, which was disappointing. So business and took other ways out of the puzzle. But I love it though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, it's just cool to ask people like that, and just kid advice. We've heard crazy names before, like but like it's just cool, and being able to ride with him like in his prime, like just sit car side with him.
Think about it, right? I mean, the skill sets that are there, and what has to happen, and how do you get from being a kid riding a go-kart, driving a go-kart, in Germany or England or here in America, and then becoming this worldwide famous race car driver making millions of dollars a year, driving a $1.7 million car. Yeah. I mean, that takes some talent. Obviously, there's only about 17 drivers in Formula One that are out there. So 17 out of 4 million kids that want to do it. Right?
We need to do a little Jim Butler trip out to Vegas for that Vegas strip show.
Well,
for
my
F1.
buddies are trying to get me to do that.
Yeah,
too.
you got to do that,
I
dude.
think it would be. It'd be worth the trip. That's for sure.
It's going to be cool in Vegas, and I think Miami does a cool one, and Monaco, all the places are just incredible. But yeah, it's cool, and it just helps the car. It's just cars are awesome, you know. And I'm a big car guy, but I got my little '83 Mustang, my Fox body, which is that's my baby. But yeah, no, it was cool. I appreciate you coming on the show, and guys, if you guys don't know anything about the story of kind of what we talked about today, we'll drop the links to the website, and by the time the episode comes out, we're gonna have some more updates on givebacks, and we'll share some pictures and images on the YouTube version. So thank you for coming in, Brad. I appreciate
thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.